Hey class, welcome to week 6 of COMM 313. I'd like to welcome everybody to this week and kind of go over first what we're going to be doing. We have quite a few things we're going to be doing this week, but I'll go ahead and break them down before we actually dive into our lecture. So during this week, we're going to look into Chapter 6, which is Communication Strategy and Planning, and also Chapter 7, which is Research and Measurement. We're also going to look into your group project for the semester, and just remember that last week you should have learned who is in your group and where you could communicate with your group members. So if you scroll here on week 5, here's your group here, and this is where your group discussions are located. You could click on this link, and this is where you would communicate with your group members. So when you click on group discussions, if you're in group 3 or 4, you would click on these and go through here. And then finally, you're going to be assigned your first discussion forum assignment to complete as well. So for your tasks to complete this week, make sure to watch this video lecture, read chapter 6 and 7 before you do watch the video lecture. This way you have a good understanding of what it is that we are discussing in the lectures. Review the group project assignment and complete the discussion forum assignment. So first, let's go ahead and take a look at our group project assignment. You can click here, and it's going to open up in a new window. Now this is going to be due on April 16th in Sakai. I will provide you a link of where to upload your group project the week before. So it will be an oral presentation and a written report that you will need to upload, but the week before I will show you where you can upload it. So for your background, your group has been hired as internal corporate communication consultants for Facebook because upper management in Facebook has been hearing from their employees that they are not happy with their current work environment. And this is something we've been talking about and something we're going to go into a little deeper in the upcoming weeks. But these employees are considered internal stakeholders, and they're stakeholders that are very important for the company. So when your stakeholders are happy, you're going to have a much more efficiency in your workforce. So at this point, upper management does not know what the exact issues are, so they need to create some kind of trust and better connection with their employees. So think of it, if you work for a corporate organization like this and you're hearing your employees are not happy, the best thing to do is really to try to come up with some ways that will make them happy. What are some things that we can do in order to make sure that our stakeholders not only feel appreciated, but it also gives them the motivation to work as well too. So your task, you're going to create a corporate communication plan report for the president of employee engagement, which is myself. So pretend as if I am the president of employee engagement at Facebook, which highlights 3 internal communication ideas. You will build a plan on how to implement certain internal communication ideas to create a trust and better connection with its employees. You will explain how to apply the 3 ideas into the organization and what your overall goal is for each idea that you do choose. You will write a report, and you're also going to present this as well. So since we are an online class, you won't be actually presenting it in the classroom, but you're going to actually be recording your presentation online with your group. So your presentation should be similar to your report, but it will be as if you are pitching your ideas to the organization. So be creative in your content. The sky is the limit. So here are 2 example ideas you can implement taken from interactintranet.com. So here's just a couple ideas. You can maybe automate some tasks or sharing internal knowledge around the water cooler. But this link here, if you click on it, it's going to talk about 10 great examples of internal communication tools in action. And it talks about a few things that you can do in order to really help employees feel not only more appreciated, but give them that efficiency and motivation that they're striving for in order to work for your organization. You're really coming up with a few different things where you're not only making their lives easier for working at the organization, but you're also being more transparent in a sense that you're showing them, hey, we understand the employees aren't happy, so we're going to do some things in order to make sure things are more efficient. So as internal stakeholders, your employees are extremely important to the success of your company. So again, I just took a couple ideas here. You could come up with your own ideas, but please do not use these ideas. Here, you're going to have to come up with your own, so you cannot use these 2 that I've listed here. I'd like you guys to be a little creative in your content, figure out some things that you can do. You can use the other ideas that are listed in this 8, the other 8 listed in these 10, but these are just a couple of the ideas here that you can't use. So your oral presentation, please record your oral presentation using Zoom, or you can use similar software program if you'd like. Maybe someone in your group has, some advanced and expert experience using, online recording software. And during the week, we went over Zoom. I showed you how to record your project, which was the previous week. You're going to upload your completed file. Feel free to edit for those of you who might have an editor in your group, but it is not required. So maybe someone wants to edit it up, splice it, do a couple things to make the presentation a little bit more seamless. That's fine, but you're not required to do this, and you will not lose points if you don't do this. Your oral presentation can be similar to your written portion, but as a presentation. So let's take a look at the written portion. So the corporate communication plan report should be a minimum of 8 pages total, and it will include the following. So your plan report title page, this should include your consulting, your company name, every group's member name, date of the report, and the company you are consulting, which is going to be Facebook along with their logo. Make this look professional. Your summary of 2 pages. This summary is to give the president of employee engagement an idea of what the plan will consist of and the strategy you are using. Here's an example, but it does not have to have exactly the following. So this is almost like an abstract, but this is going to be 2 pages. And usually in business reports, they're considered executive summaries, but we'll just call them a summary in this case. Maybe your current issues in the organization, the overall plan, and maybe the internal communication idea number 1, number 2, and number 3 that you have, just to kind of give me a better idea of what you're going to be discussing. Then you'll have your plan, report plan breakdown, which should be 4 to 7 pages. You're going to select 3 different ideas you plan on implementing. For each, discuss a short summary, why you feel this is necessary, why it will work, and an explanation of estimated cost for implementing this and an example. So you don't have to give an actual cost. This is something that can be made up. Again, so these are the different ways, the different things that you'll be talking about, but you don't have to have an actual cost. It's something that can be made up, but just to kind of give me an idea of where you feel the organization would be spending on this. So maybe a short summary, an example, estimated cost, how and why it will work. And remember, this is just a recommended format. You don't have to use this format. You could come up with your own, but I do know, a lot of students, they like to get an idea of what would be the best way to write it. So again, and then you have your conclusion, which is going to be your wrap up, your measurement and evaluation, your projected outcome, the estimated cost, and overall how will this plan help the organization you chose. So this group project is worth 100 points of your final grade. Your written report will be worth 50 points, and your presentation will be worth 50 points. Each presentation recorded should be approximately 10 to 12 minutes. So let's take a quick look at our syllabus. And as we scroll down here, you'll see that your group project is worth 100 points. And again, it will be due by the end of this week on April 16th. And again, I will show you during this video lecture here where you can upload your written report and the oral presentation that you recorded with Zoom. So if you have any questions about the group project, please let me know. This is a very it's a free project for you guys to really come up with some creativity on what you want to do. There's a lot of vague directions on what to do, but that's because I want you guys to come up with your own ideas. As a consultant to fix an issue in an organization, it's important that you think outside the box and figure out ways of what you can do to make an internal stakeholder group extremely happy. All right, let's go ahead and go to our next task. I want to show you now, let's take a look at our discussion form, number 1, which is for week 6. You could click on this link here, which will take you right to it. Or if you would like, you can go the long way, click on forms here. And then you're going to see your discussion form section here. You're going to see discussion form number 1, week 6. Click on this. And you're going to click on view full description. And here's what you need to do to complete. So let's go ahead and go over the first one. Since this is your first one, we'll go over it in detail. So it's going to be worth a total of 30 points. You're going to have a main post, which is worth 20 points, and you're going to have to respond to 2 students, which are both worth 5 points each. So you're going to post a total of 3 times. Again, please consider the feeling of others and be respectful when posting. If there is something you disagree with, please do so in a respectful manner and provide reasoning. There's a zero tolerance for foul language, flaming, or putting others down in a negative way. Any sign of this will result in an automatic 0 for this assignment, and the post will be removed and reported. So you must complete the following. So your first main post is due by Saturday of the week. So please make sure you do have it completed by this Saturday of week 6. Please select one of the article links below from the Harvard Business Review, which is also known as HBR. You only have to select read one for your main discussion post. After reading one of the articles, discuss what you liked about the article and whether you agree or disagree with all or some of the points which were made. Please make sure to explain your answer in detail. This is your one main post you must complete. Your answer should be substantive in length, meaning you should provide details and reasoning in your answer, a minimum of 150 words. You can use reasoning, examples, or anything else you think would be helpful in your answer. If you post after the main post deadline of Saturday, you will receive a late point deduction. So here's the first article, 5 questions to identify key stakeholders. The second article is implementing a stakeholder strategy. And the third article, employee values equal stakeholder values. So read one of those articles and then you will complete what was asked here. Then your 2 responses, these are due by the end of the week 6, which is Tuesday, 11:55 p.m. Each one is worth 5 points each, and you have 2 total for a total of 10 points. So in addition, you must respond to at least 2 other posts in the discussion board. These responses could be replies to main posts written by your classmates or a reply post written by your classmate. Each response you write will count as one of the 2 response posts required. If in your reply, you can discuss whether you agree, disagree with their post and why. Maybe you can ask further questions to expand on the conversation, or provide personal experiences or even outside sources to the conversation that help tie in with what was being discussed. Each one of your 2 responses should be at least 150 words. So what you would do here is you would just click Start a New Conversation, put your title here, discuss what you read in the article, and once you're done, you would click Post, and then your post will show up here. And then students can start responding to your post, and they can create their own main post, and etc. So whenever you're creating your main post, you're going to click Start a New Conversation. Let's click Test Post here. We'll click Post, and so now you have your test post. And then let's say the second student comes in and they have another post. So now we have 2 posts here. So now what's great is if you go back here from the forms, you look in the discussion forum week 1, now you're going to see these here. And let's say you're reading test post 2 and you like what this person wrote. You want to talk about some of your ideas. You would just click reply to initial message, reply to test post 2, you would click post. And so you'll see how it starts happening with the communication. And then you can even reply to this test post, and that would count as one of your replies. You could reply to the main post, whatever it is, you just need 2 replies by Tuesday night. All right, let me go ahead and make sure I delete these posts that I made. All right, perfect. So you're just going to see 2 deleted posts, so don't even worry about those. So let's go ahead and go back to now our lectures for today. So again, we're going to be talking about Chapter 6, Communication Strategy, and Chapter 7, Research and Measurement. So we'll go ahead and go open up our Chapter 6 lecture here. So we'll look in this chapter, we're going to talk a little bit about communication strategy and planning. We're going to talk about the process of strategy making and corporate communication, the content of communication strategy, planning and managing strategic communication programs and campaigns, how campaigns may persuade stakeholders into supportive behaviors towards the organization. Just keep in mind, you're going to see a few misspelled words. That's because these slides were created in, I believe it was in England, and with English language using in England or the English language being used in America, you're going to have different ways of spelling certain things. It's almost like the word gray. In America, I believe the most popular way of spelling it is with an A, Gray, and in England it's with an E, Grey, which it's the same word, same meaning, but spelling is going to be a little bit different. So the process of communication strategy. So communication strategies involve bringing stakeholder reputations in line with the vision of the organization. So understanding what the vision of the organization is going to be extremely important. And usually this is something that's created when the organization is first open. So bringing the stakeholders' reputations in line with it is going to be important and critical to the success of the organization, because it's going to show that the stakeholders are in line with what the company believes. Reinforcing existing reputations of stakeholders if broadly in line with how the organization wants itself to be seen. So you have a strategic intent. This suggests a set of communication tactics and activities that aim to affect awareness, knowledge, reputation, behavior of important stakeholders. With however way you decide to communicate this, these are a set of communication tactics that really try to aim to affect what the organization is doing, whether it's awareness or knowledge about the organization or even reputation, and you put it in line with your stakeholders. That way, moving forward, everything is parallel your intent of what you want to do, and this is known as your strategic intent. So the process of the communication strategy. So paradigms on the process of strategy making. So you have your rational planning mode, your intuitive or visionary, and then your incremental or emergent. So let's take a look at these. So here you have your strategy formation, and here are the different characteristics that you have. Maybe one strategy you want to use is analytical, based on analytical data on how the company has been performing, which is fine. Maybe you want to go with something that's going to be a little bit more qualitative on the other end of the spectrum, and it's going to be more visionary. Where the company plans to go, and your strategy is going to be based on the vision of the company. So strategy formation. So strategy formation consists of a combination of plan and emergent processes. And strategy involves a general direction and not simply plans or tactics. So it's the general direction of where the organization is going or where it wants to head. And of course, strategy is about the organization and its environment. The strategy should reflect what the organization is about, whether it's the vision or mission, where the organization is going, and so on. So the link between corporate strategy and communication strategy. So with a communication strategy, when you're looking at corporate strategy, you're actually being more informative. If the corporate strategy is looking more towards the communication strategy, that's going to be kind of like translating it into a sense where the stakeholders will better understand. So the content of communication strategy starts from an organization-wide assessment of the organization's reputation in the light of its vision of a particular point in time. Um, and if you look at the reputation vision gap that your book discusses, this forms the basis for the formulation of a strategic intent. It will better help you understand which way the company should move and where it should go. You have your communicators, you have a technician, you have a manager. Make sure you have a good understanding of what these are. You should have a good understanding since you have read the book, but I don't want to go into too much detail on that slide. But I do want to talk about the strategic messaging. So organization-wide assessment of how organization is seen by stakeholders is a reputation in light of the organization's vision. So remember, the way that the stakeholders view your organization, this is known as the reputation. And whether it's internal or external stakeholders, you may have two different reputations based on how each one views the organization. The gap is the basis of strategic intent, which is a change or consolidation in a company's reputation that is intended. And your stages in formulating the content of a communication strategy. So first you have a strategic intent. What is it that you're planning on doing? This is where you really strategize. Then you have your theme, the message, what kind of message you're going to write, and then of course the style, how you're going to communicate that. Is it informative? Is it persuasive? What is the style that you're looking to component? Then you have your alternative message styles. Um, we won't go into too much detail of this, but have a good understanding of where each one goes and what it means. Planning programs and campaigns. So you have a communication program and communication campaign. So a program is a formulated set of activities towards targeted internal and external audiences. This is something that might include maybe an outreach activity that the organization is doing to get to know the community better and trying to really be involved. Then you have a campaign, which is restricted to the use of a mediated form of communication, such as mass media advertising, and this is towards specific stakeholder audiences and is restricted to a single point in time. Maybe your campaign is being advertised in a certain place. This is your communication campaign. So your step one, your strategic intent, this formulates a change and is based upon the gap with how the organization wants to be seen by important stakeholder groups and how it is currently being seen by each of these groups. So in your strategic intent, maybe your current organization is not being seen well by the public. Let's say your customers, which are external stakeholders. So what are some things that you're going to do in order to change that, and how do you want to be seen? And that's where you need to go. And so you can see here, you have your vision and your reputation. So this is what stakeholders think of you. This is where you want to go. You create a strategic intent. You define the objectives, identify the audiences, identify the theme messages, develop your message styles and your media strategy styles, and prepare the budget. Step two, define communication objectives. So it's important to know what your objectives are, so this way you know which route you need to go to. So appeal to stakeholders with a particular message so that they react favorably to it and change or consolidate specific support behavior towards the organization. So you have the acronym SMART, where you're specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timely. And one of the keywords in there, measurable, is an important one because you need to be able to measure to see what's happening, to see if you are successful with what it is that you're trying to do. And then step three, identify and prioritize target audiences. Figure out what your target audience is that you want to go towards. And then here we have, again, our stakeholder salience model, where we have power, urgency, and legitimacy. And this is where your definitive stakeholder is, where all three of these meet. And then you have your power interest matrix. So this is your power, whether it's low or high. Um, Here we have your minimal effort. These are people who are not going to put in too much effort. And the people, if you have a high power, these are the people that you want to keep satisfied. And the further you go on the spectrum, you can see these are your key players. These are stakeholders that are always in the organization that you want to keep satisfied, that are important as well. Step four, identify theme messages. Decide on your core message of what you actually want to write. And then what kind of message style are you using? And there, use one of the 5 message styles that your book discusses. And you can use multiple message styles simultaneously if you want. Step 6, develop a media strategy. Identify the most effective and efficient means of reaching the target audiences within a given budgetary constraints, whether it's social media, an email blast, or even sending letters to homes, whatever it may be. Creating that is important. And if last but not least, prepare the budget, which is step 7. So most of the budget will be spent on media buying, but it's always good to see how much you're spending, what you're going to actually spend moving forward. All right, let's go ahead and talk about chapter 7. So chapter 7, research and measurement. So this is an important chapter because this is what is going to help you better understand if what you're doing is working, because you are measuring your results, you are looking into research to see what works best, and so on. So research and measurement is a cornerstone of professional corporate communication. Several organizations use research and measurement to see what is working, what can be improved, and so on. Even what's not working, so that way it can be improved. So we're going to look into the practical issues around research and measurement and standardized methods for measuring corporate reputations and corporate identity. So keep in mind, research can improve a value given to campaigns by senior management. And you do have informal research, and this is more casual interactions with key stakeholders or experts. This helps develop a better understanding of problems and forming a communication program. Then you have formal research. These are something that are systematic data gathering methods, such as a focus group, a survey, or even content analysis. And this chart shows here, your research and evaluation with communication campaigns, the 5 steps. So please make sure you have a good understanding of these different 5 steps. So the research and evaluation cycle, so there's a benefit of seeing research and evaluation as a cycle. You kind of see what's working, what's not working. And of course, of crucial importance is measuring the impact level of communications. How impactful is this coming across? So before we go into too much detail, let's look at what a corporate reputation is. This is the subject's collective representation of past images of an organization established over time. And you have 2 broad types of reputation research, the publicly syndicated rankings and company-specific reputation research. So here you can see to measure corporate reputation, this is kind of how you would do it. And this will kind of give you an idea of the method and sample as well. So, go over this chart, have a good understanding with the same thing with the next chart as well, which shows the different types of qualitative methods that you can use and the different techniques to have a qualitative corporate reputation research method as well here. And then here are a couple more quantitative. So you could see quantitative is more on a scale where you're getting definitive numbers, where qualitative is, you might be asking more questions than anything. And so here you could see the corporate reputation of 2 companies compared. You could kind of see where they go and how they move back and forth. Your organizational identity research methods as well. So there's a lot that they talk about here, and there's even more as well listed, but here are just a few. You don't have to have all these memorized, but have a good understanding of what they mean and what they are. And of course, the stages of evaluation where you prepare, you implement, and you impact. And you could see the different steps here as well too. So go over this chart, have a good understanding. Again, nothing that needs to be memorized. Theories on effective messages and persuasion. So you have your target messages where you set reasonable goals and objectives that are achievable. You don't always want to overshoot to try to do something that is almost going to look impossible, because if you don't reach that goal, not only is it going to look as something that didn't work, but it's something that you might get a little bit more down on. But set realistic goals when you are moving forward. And here we have our hierarchy effects model. And finally, alternatives to the hierarchy effects theory. You have framing. You assume that the message consists of the activation of an overall frame in terms of certain keywords and formulations. How are you going to frame your message? What is it that you're actually going to write about? And is this something that the stakeholders are going to approve on? All right, guys. So that is it for week 6. I know we covered a lot of content, the 2 chapters, your group project, and of course your discussion forum. Remember, if you want to discuss with your group things about the group project, just go down to the group project discussion link here. And whatever group you're in, maybe you want to ask a question, you can go in there and ask a question, and so on and so on. So again, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I wish you guys all the best of luck this week. Take care.